What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin. I really enjoyed this novel overall. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads and definitely recommend it. I actually read the author's note in the back of the book before reading the story, and I think it really shed a light into Ursula's inspiration and deeper meaning and overall insight to the world and the main character, Ged. So if you do have that author's note in your copy, I recommend reading it first and then jumping into the story. I know that might be a little weird, but I really enjoyed that author's note. The first book was published in 1968 and deviates from the usual epic fantasy expectations and stereotypes. Ged and most of the characters in this book and the series as a whole is not based in medieval Europe and not on a huge swath of land that kind of sort of looks like Europe, but is based on many islands, which is an archipelago. Did I say that word right? I hate that word, but yes, this novel has a bunch of islands where Ged and his friends, and really just anyone in particular, travel throughout that region instead of a huge continent that basically is Europe, but not really. The characters are also darker skinned, and the novel carries Taoist beliefs about fundamental balance in Earthsea and also within the magic system. Not everyone has magical powers, but a balance between control and chaos, evil and good, right and wrong, night and day, and so on are very much integrated in this world, whether, like I said, you are magically touched or not. It's all about balance. A great example of that is how language and names and the true power of knowing a person's true name holds great power, and knowing how to use that great responsibility and why you should always choose to be good. And overall, it's very important to be balanced, not just in your magic, but as a person. I think it's really fascinating that Herman Schein, the publisher of Parnassus Press, asked Ursula to write a fantasy book for older kids and letting her do whatever she wanted. This is the time after J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth became very popular, and he created the fantasy genre. Writers, editors, publishers, and agents were fascinated at what Tolkien created and wanted in on it, for better or for worse, of course. But I think Ursula really knocked it out of the park for the new fantasy genre and created a lot of fantasy expectations and tropes that we still see today in this book. And then, like I said in the beginning, she mixed things up and did not do a bunch of things that were expected. And I love that. It's a breath of fresh air. The Wizard of Earthsea is classified as a fantasy coming-of-age story because it explores the life of Ged, a mage born in the small village of Gaunt with great power and smarts. After he is sent off to a wizarding school, he begins to pick fights with a fellow student that just seems to rub him the wrong way. During a magical duel, Ged's spell goes horribly wrong and he releases a shadow creature on the world. Not everyone survives and he's left broken mentally, physically, and emotionally. The novel follows Ged's quest of seeking freedom from this creature and finding himself. I can absolutely see why this is a coming-of-age novel, and some of the other books in this series, though I don't know if maybe the 4th and 5th book are considered coming-of-age. We'll see, because I'm going to continue on with this series. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, but I think if I read this book as a kid or a teenager, it would be absolutely 5 stars, utter perfection, and I would have been absolutely obsessed with this book and series. There are lots of great insights for kids and teenagers that can learn about themselves, being a good person, how to go about being a good person, and why it's good to be a good person. I won't spoil the ending because it says no spoilers, but those moments with Ged and the shadow creature are incredibly moving, and I would have definitely benefited from this book as a kid who was struggling and angsty and angry at myself and the world. It's very well written, though some parts can be a bit slow, especially in the beginning, where he's about to be sent off to the wizarding school, but I can see why it would be slow because this is a whole new world setting up a big series. And yes, I wanted it to be a bit faster at times, but this is also 1960s writing, so it's not as fast-paced, and there is a little bit of flowery language in this novel, even though it's a coming-of-age book. I recommend this novel to young people, especially because it's a great novel for those coming up in the world, but I also highly recommend it for adult fantasy lovers because it is the basis for what we know as the fantasy genre today. Thank you so much for watching my book review, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!